Good morning, good morning, good morning. Well, lo and behold, it's May the 31st, and today commemorates 100 years since the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma was bombed from the air and burned to the ground. Bombed from the air and burned to the ground. The last time we heard of a community going through that was Move up in Philadelphia, where the American government sanctioned actions rained down again on Black people. And we remember this day, those of us in business, those of us big on history, we remember this day because Tulsa was the most accomplished Black community, or at least one of the most accomplished Black communities in the entire country. "36 square blocks, businesses, hundreds of businesses, some say 600, at least 300, hundreds of businesses in a 36 square block area in the early 1900s. Oklahoma became a state in 1906. So between 1906 and 1921, 15 years, this Black community prospered. And a lot of people don't know what was going on in Oklahoma. How did these Black people get so rich? Well, I'll tell you, oil, Texas gold. Right there in Oklahoma, they found oil. And so it didn't take long before Tulsa became the oil capital of the world. Some 400 oil companies had located there. And there's so many interesting stories surrounding the whole story of Tulsa, the story of Oklahoma. What a lot of people don't know is that Oklahoma was intended to be the first Black state. Georgia is about the blackest state, if I'm not mistaken. But around 1866, legislation was put forth to make Oklahoma the first Black state. Now, that never really took off. But what did take off was the establishment of Black towns. Little known to a lot of people, Oklahoma had anywhere from 50 to 70 Black towns. So Tulsa's Greenwood district, that was one of many. What's even more mind-blowing is Texas, just below Oklahoma and Texas, some 200,000 Blacks. When slavery ended and 4 million Blacks were freed, 250,000 or so went to Texas. And so on that note, Texas has somewhere between 50, one lady counted 550 Black towns in Texas. Not 50, 550. 500 Black towns in East Texas. Who knew this stuff? Did you know? I didn't know. So I wrote this book, I Am Black Wall Street. It'll be hitting the street soon, because I was just blown away at all of this history I knew nothing about. I knew about Baltimore. I knew about Black history in Baltimore. And so this journey took over my life. I wanted to find out all I could about Black Wall Street. So one thing I will share with you is that Oklahoma, Tulsa, their Black Wall Street is one of 3 Black Wall Streets. The other 2 communities with Black Wall Streets would be Durham, North Carolina, made famous by North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company, one of, if not the oldest Black life insurance company in America. And there was another Black Wall Street in Richmond, Virginia. We were blessed to be able to do a Black Wall Street Awards there in Richmond. Richmond was made famous by the likes of Maggie Lena Walker. And she was such a dynamic woman, a beautiful woman, a gorgeous woman who was smart. Imagine that. So smart that she was the first woman in America to charter a bank. I did not stutter. The first woman to charter a bank was Maggie Lena Walker, right there in Richmond, in a place. Now, while Greenwood was in Tulsa, in Richmond, you had their Black Wall Street was in a place called Jackson Ward in Richmond. Interestingly, it was so obvious that when we did do the Black Wall Street in Richmond, all the black people had seemingly gone. It was not very black. Kind of like how I feel about Oakland. I'm just learning that Oakland is 21% black. See, blacks have been, and I said, where all the black people at? And one guy told me they're homeless. Everything has changed out in California, particularly around that Bay Area. The Bay Area is not far from Silicon Valley, where the whole tech industry is booming there, and of course in the Northeast. But that whole California, Silicon Valley, the property over there is through the roof. So that's just a little bit about Black Wall Street. Today marks 100 years since an angry mob. Now, Channel 11, now I appreciate you telling the story, but if you're going to tell the story correctly. It was not a mob of white people. It was a mob of angry, jealous white people. And so you got this black community that's thriving. And mind you, white folks in Tulsa weren't doing bad. They weren't broke. But that racism, everybody went out west, to start a new life on the other side of the Mississippi, away from the deep South. The Civil War was over, and the Confederates, a lot of Confederates just could not accept that they lost. I'm from North Avenue. You get in a fight, you throw your blows, you win or you lose, and then it's over. But these people, these Confederates, these people who hold on to this Confederate illusion, who lost, they're still holding on to this thing like they have the right to own somebody. Go do your own damn work, lazy ass self. And that's what happened in my book. I look at the story behind the story. How did those people get to Oklahoma? That was my big question. How did they get out there? I mean, when you go into Tulsa and Oklahoma, you're going to hear all about J.B. Stratford, who owned the hotel. You're going to hear about O.W. Gurley, the first businessman to set up shop there in Tulsa's Greenwood district. You're going to hear about E.P. McCabe. He was what you call a booster. He was one of the people out there touting Oklahoma as the place to go. E.P. McCabe, I think he was in the second black town that was established in Oklahoma called Langston. Because before Tulsa came about, before Tulsa's Greenwood district came about, there were some other black towns. You can't forget Bowling. I learned that early on, 10 years ago. I've been studying this thing 10 years. You cannot mention Oklahoma. You cannot mention Tulsa and expect the people of Oklahoma to respect you if you don't mention Bowling. You got to mention Bowling. Bowling was just like Greenwood district. Bowling was self-made, all black town. And let me just say, we probably have a challenge embracing this thing, imagining all black towns. Well, there were a bunch of them. They just never told us about them in the history books. And that's what's so important about today and tomorrow, this 15-hour period that I've been talking about for the past 10 years, ever since I learned about it. Somebody just had the audacity to destroy everything that black people built. Despite these stereotypes, they'd say black people are lazy, black people are this. You look at D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation, it's always these scared Negroes, or it's always, subservient black people or coward black people. I look at John Wayne movies, and John Wayne, he's big bravado, macho. Let me tell you, the real soldiers were. You ain't ready for this. What time is it? You ain't ready for this. No, I ain't gonna tell you just yet. We had our own heroes. We had our own heroes, and they were strapped. Not only did we have some black heroes, we had at least one white hero. Bet you didn't expect that. One of the heroes in my book is a white man. Pharaoh, I'm trying to teach a class. Come here. Pharaoh. One of the heroes, I guess he just had to photobomb this segment. He knew this segment was coming. Are you starting soon? Yes, but wait, you ain't been waiting for no 1.5 hours. I said we're going to start at 10 o'clock. Leroy, they were black folks minding their own business, says they were definitely angry, jealous. I'm ready. Okay, so how did the black people get to Oklahoma? Oh, you got to buy the book. That book right there. And it'll be available sometime this week is my hope. But I'll tell you, Chief John Horse, the Seminole, the first blacks in Oklahoma, came on the Trail of Tears in 1843. They left Florida because they had been fighting the white man. They had been fighting the white man alongside the Indians down in Florida. How many of y'all knew that Florida was not an original state? Did you know that? Hey, Angela Marshall, how many of you knew that Florida was not an original colony? Who knew? We all knew about Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Virginia, and I'm just counting. I'm having North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Well, of the original 13 colonies, Florida was not one of them. What? We have a narrow view of history that's been told through one set of eyes, and that's the English. We have a very narrow view of history because if it doesn't fit into the English storyline, the British storyline, the people from the United Kingdom, it leaves us dumb, ignorant, not knowing. The French were up in here. The Spanish were up in here. French, the Spanish, and the British. I don't know if the Portuguese came to North America. The Portuguese were definitely up in Brazil. Here's something we don't realize. One, the first slaves did not come in 1619. That's all wrong. All wrong. All wrong. Wrong. Because you got the 1619 project going on. And I'm all for correcting history. I'm all for revising history. But don't tell me the first blacks came in 1619. Because, see, there you go again. You're following this British storyline. The first slaves reported here were actually almost 100 years prior, 1525. South Carolina, 20 of them. There's a Spanish man came here named Vasquez. Now, mind you, there's already Indians here, native people, indigenous, and we're not getting caught up in no labels right now. European come up in here. He got 20 Africans in chains, or however that worked. All we know is, according to the reports, 2 months later, Vasquez was dead, and them black people had escaped. And this is South Carolina. And big ups to the beautiful museum that they have planned for South Carolina. It is believed that those blacks in 1525 ran off into the Gullah Islands. So my book talks about freedom colonies, some mind-blowing history right before our very eyes. I got to tell you, the more you dig, the more you find. Now, I called my cousin yesterday. He's actually lived in Mexico. He lived down on the Yucatan Peninsula. That's about the easternmost tip of Mexico. But I was telling him about the book, of course, and asking him about the Black history of Mexico. And I don't know how I missed this. And that's what I'm saying. The more I wrote this in the book, the more you dig, the more you find. Everybody knows about Barack Obama, but he was not the first Black president in the Western Hemisphere. The first Black president in the Western Hemisphere, and that's this side of the world, you know, Canada, North America, South America. The first Black president over here, well, let me just get to it. The first Black president of Mexico was Vincente Guerrero. Yes, Mexico had a Black president, and he led the revolution. Now, I knew Toussaint Louverture led the revolution down in Haiti, but I didn't realize that Vincente Guerrero, around just a little bit after Toussaint Louverture, led the Mexican Revolution. Now, if you study your history, you'll find out that there were some fights between Mexico and the United States, the Spanish-American War. There were other wars we never even pay attention to, the American Indian Wars. And so as we look at Florida and how them Black people got to Oklahoma, they came from Florida on a Trail of Tears led by a free Black man, named Chief John Horse. He led the first wave of Blacks to Oklahoma in 1843 because he was leading at that time prior the largest slave insurrection in United States history. See, they don't tell you about Tulsa because there's so much greatness connected to it. Who knew about the largest slave insurrection in American history? Who knew? Nobody knew. They reworded it. They revised it. They call it the Second Seminole War. It wasn't no Second Seminole War. It was an ass whipping. That's what it was. Them Blacks and them Indians were down there fighting the likes of General Andrew Jackson. Well, he was president by this time. Remember Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill? He was a racist. He was a genocidal maniac who did not like anybody non-white. And he felt like the Blacks and the Indians needed to leave Florida for the white people. And he had that manifest destiny mentality. We got to be aware of it. That's one term for you today. Manifest destiny. Anybody know what manifest destiny means as it relates to white Americans? Anybody? Or these settlers? Anybody know? Manifest destiny. Same thing white people doing with gentrification today. I can do what I want, when I want, where I want, and to whom I want, particularly if you ain't white. Manifest destiny. Look at Avatar, the movie. You ever seen Avatar? That was one big colonialism movie. We're going to go take this planet and the indigenous people that are connected to the trees and the flying birds and dinosaurs and all of that. We don't care what they're in, we're going to kill that tree. We're going to kill that lifestyle because we want to mine for some ingredient in the ground. You know, Black people, at some point, you got to stand up to this foolishness. I mean, Black people around the world. Either we're going to let people exploit and blow up this world, or we're going to have to step up and correct a lot of the foolishness that's going on. You're only going to live for so long. You can't take that money with you. But some people, they're taking science too far. They want to live forever. Live forever, but die you must. Science is changing the way we're looking at things. We got all kinds of gadgets. They're going to have out a new set of glasses that has a phone in it. So you got everything. And what does that go back to? It's all spiritual, scriptural, biblical. The mark of the beast. That's what it's going to be. But anyway, Black people, please know your history. Your ancestors were not buffoons, were not clowns, and not all of them were slaves. In fact, there were lots of white slaves and indentured servants. There were a bunch of poor British people that came here, just like in Australia. You know, Australia was really a penal colony. They sent the worst of the worst of the worst white people to Australia. And let me tell you, while we don't know while we, know a little bit about our history, those black people in Australia endured havoc, madness. I mean, they was using everything on them people in Australia. Razor blades, castrating people. They castrated us here. But Australia got particularly ugly, particularly bitter. It was just nasty. So when I hear, what's the lady on Channel 11, the weekend girl, Kai, she's saying it's a mob of white people. No, they weren't just a mob of white people. And we cannot normalize this type of behavior. And then I'm going to transition to my point for the day. When you go and burn down somebody's house, you are a criminal. You're psychotic. You're mentally disturbed. And for 100 years after all of this stuff happened, for this finally to be acknowledged, the whole damn state of Oklahoma is disturbed. And they don't want to acknowledge it. Well, maybe not all of the people, but certainly the entire state. They got a governor out there that doesn't want to acknowledge the harm. Big ups to attorney Demario Solomon Simmons, who's leading a class action lawsuit. Sue them. Now, let's fast forward to today. We here in the city of Baltimore, majority black city. Last week, Odette Ramos pushed forth legislation trying to take food off of black people's plate. She wanted to create her own class. In order to create a class of federally protected people, as in black people, as in the Minority Business Enterprise Program, that's a Supreme Court decision, not a brand new Baltimore City Council person's role. It's not her role. She doesn't understand her role. Odette Ramos over there in East Baltimore, North, Charles Village. She does not know her role. She's trying to change the storyline. Baltimore's a black city. Black people have been getting 1 to 2% of the contracts forever. We never heard Odette Ramos's advocacy. Ever. I've been out here fighting for 20, 25 years. And I stand on the shoulders of people fighting much longer. Arnold Jolivet, Robert Lee Clay, Ples Jones, Wayne Frazier, Robert DeShields. These people have been fighting for a long time to make sure black people get our piece of the pie. This is a majority black city. Every time you cut the news on, it's about a black murder. Why is there a black murder? It's a black murder because we have council people with limited intellect, like an Odette Ramos, that doesn't understand the interrelationship of poverty, education, food deserts, and black business. So just like those people got strangled to death out there, burned to the ground in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the same thing is happening right today. Black people are getting crumbs from City Hall where you have a black mayor, a black city council president, a black comptroller, and I don't know that anybody knows which way the ship is going. What it looks like is what was will remain, status quo. I really had hoped for more out of this new generation of leadership. But I don't see it coming. I don't see it bubbling. I don't see it manifesting in a black city with a black mayor. Tulsa's happening right today, right here in Baltimore. You got resources that come through Washington, D.C., through the city, to the city of Baltimore to go to black businesses. Black businesses since COVID have not heard from a lot of these entities. There are all kinds of games and stunts being played on black people today. So we cannot afford to forget Tulsa because it's still going on today. You might not see bombs from the air, but turn on that 6 o'clock news. That's your Tulsa. That's your Tulsa Black Wall Street right here in Baltimore. Every time you cut on the news and you hear about these murders ain't just happened out of the clear blue. And stop blaming black people for these damn murders. You know who put the guns here. You know who put the crack here. Now I ain't saying black people are all innocent. Let's clear that up. But you just don't keep having heroin on the same corner every day for 25 years and don't nobody else know about it. Cops know about it because cops get paid. Let's be clear. DEA know about it. I don't know what they do. I really don't. They'll sit and watch a situation for years. They'll let a cat make money selling drugs, become a kingpin, only to come back and take it. It's lying and stealing. That's what's going on. And drug dealing. Black people are supposed to own half of Baltimore. We shouldn't be owning the house and still paying ground rent. We shouldn't have to be begging for a trash pickup, or that our grass gets cut, or that the trash gets picked up. We shouldn't have to beg like that. We've had black leadership going back to Kurt Schmoke. Only had one white man all that time. That rascal Martin O'Malley. But the impact of that Martin O'Malley tenure is still here today. Brandon comes out of that camp. Stephanie Rollins Blake came out of that camp. And Catherine Pugh to some extent. Some say Sheila Dixon derivatives of that camp. I wouldn't. I'll wrestle with that part about Sheila. Whoever's fault it is, O'Malley got in there and changed the game. And those blacks that did get in leadership, it's just like those blacks that did get into leadership were under attack, were attacked. Unless you get in there and you play dumb, unless you get in there and just say what's on the script, you can't get in there and have a brain. Now me and Fox is talking about, I got 2 calls last week. Fox is saying that Baltimore didn't have so much crime since Sheila Dixon was mayor. It's like, man, go sit down and shut up, man. Make me want to get violent out here. Now you going to praise this lady, Fox, after you done brought Vigna Raja on here to give us all kind of tainted information. Go sit down. You had your chance. You blew it. Somebody want it like this. Somebody wants Baltimore like it is. Somebody wants it like this. Somebody black is the gatekeeper. Because there's no reason for blacks not to be getting more of the piece of the pie. We should have schools. We should have brand new recreation centers. Have you been to Washington, D.C.? Have you been to Prince George's County? Have you seen the recreation centers that these people have? I was in Benning Park. We did a couple Black Wall Street, Southeast D.C. Southeast, supposed to be one of the hardest parts of D.C. They got a beautiful recreation center, a big old field, lights. And this is not the school. This is the recreation center. They got lights at the rec center. But we have allowed some people to tell us that our children don't deserve lights, don't deserve attention. Stephanie Rollins Blake, a black man, put $10 million on the Grand Prix downtown. Obama sent stimulus money and went down to the harbor. What about East Baltimore and West Baltimore? Look at Penn North. Penn North has not been touched since Freddie Gray. But we got all these black elected officials walking around with their head up in there like they did something. They ain't did nothing, but kept the status quo. You work for the white man. Because when you do work for the black man, they're going to mark you. They're going to target you. Like Marion Barry. Marion Barry wasn't trying to hit that pipe. Marion Barry was trying to get with that lady sexually. That was what was on his mind. But you let the media tell the story. The media paint the story like, oh, Marion Barry this, Marion Barry that. What we know, Marion Barry helped make more black millionaires like this man here in Baltimore and the past mayors we have had were supposed to do. Supposed to make new black millionaires. You didn't know that was your job, son? Your job is not to make the white man rich. You're supposed to work for your people. Atlanta gets it. Oh, my God, do Atlanta get it? Keisha Lance Bottoms. I mean, you think of Herman J. Russell, the millionaire. Keisha Lance Bottoms is the mayor. They get it in Atlanta. It's expected that black people run a business. But we have a Clorox brain here in Baltimore. Our mind has been bleached into supporting manifest destiny for the white people. When it comes time to standing up for your people like Marion Barry, we have no heart. We are worse than these black stick-up kids. Black stick-up kids want to stick up black people. I tell them, hey, why don't you go rob some people out there in Tulsa, Timonian with some money? I mean, actually, the best way is just go to school and learn some skills and go to college. A lot of people claim they can't go to college. College isn't for everybody. When I see cats ride up the street doing a dirt bike, I dismiss that college is not for everybody. Yes, if you can ride a dirt bike up Pennsylvania Avenue in the middle of traffic, popping a wheelie in between cars, I know damn well you can figure out a little physics equation. I'm tired of that dummying down of black people, seriously, from anybody. Don't dummy down. We built Black Wall Streets. We have flown to the skies. We've studied the stars. We taught medicine to those near and far. Don't tell me what black people can't do. I don't even want to hear it. Get away from here. I know that we are powerful. We built pyramids. C.R. Patterson had a car company making cars. Did you know about that? Got me riled up. Okay. If you got any comments, we're going to share them. If you want to come on, I'm going to put the link in here. I had a couple of friends that may join in, but I needed to get some of that off my chest because I personally am so proud of what I've learned about our ancestors out there in Tulsa. If you want to come on, hey, Deborah. Yeah, we built the White House. Here's the stream to come on. Anybody want to share some thoughts on Tulsa, on Greenwood, on Baltimore? You know, we got a number of shows too. Tonight, 7 o'clock is Town Hall. Tuesday night, Let's Party. Let's Talk Party Marty. Wednesday night is Sister Biz. Thursday night is the Black Business Roundtable live from Oakland. And now we have the crypto, Black USA Crypto News with Kamal Hubbard on Friday. So we got three East Coast shows and 2 West Coast shows from California. And we want to do even more. If you want a show, then come and let's talk about it. Jade Renee, how you doing? Michael Randolph, yes, Baltimore and DC becoming less major. Harlem and Brooklyn, gentrified. Harlem and Brooklyn, New York, gentrified. White lady running up 125th Street, mind blowing. Adam Clayton, Malcolm X Boulevard, people jogging, white people jogging, Starbucks, mind blowing. At the same time, now let's talk about this. I love the county. I live in Baltimore City. I've lived in the county. All my family lives in the county. I love the county. Bunny, rabbit, deers, and foxes. In the city, we got triggers, rats, and roaches. I said triggers. I think we should have them both. Wherever black people live, black people should be in charge. Baltimore County needs a black county executive. And I don't think we need to wait. You would not win an election in Baltimore County without the 30% black people out Liberty Road with a lot of money, more money than Baltimore City. Baltimore County, Ramstown, that's our Prince George's County. Prince George's County came about because of the efforts of Marion Barry. So many people doing well in D.C., they slid on over to PG. So now you got Prince George's County, wealthiest black jurisdiction in America, or at least one of. We got our own Black Wall Street right down the road in Prince George's County. You ever been to Woodmore? You ever been to Woodmore? Oh, I got a treat for you. Bring a camera there. There you go. There you go. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Where you at?
I'm in Dallas still. I'm on my way to Tulsa as soon as we're done.
Wow. How's the travel been?
Horrible. Is that better?
You fine, relax. You always look like you about to go do a stick up, like you know.
Nah, horrible. I broke that last night, and night before in Fairfield, Texas, middle of no daggone. The rental car broke down. They couldn't get me out of there until yesterday, mid-morning, late morning, early afternoon. So got out of there, finally got towed back to Dallas, got a rental. But shucks, man, it took me about another hour or so at the rental car facility negotiating with them jokers to reimburse me for the hotel room, to give me another daggone car, and to lower the bill for the daggone rental that I had just in general. So, yeah. Horrible.
You get what you negotiate.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I got it.
Well, fix your camera again so we can see all of your shirt. You got black walls showing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna have that much space because I'm gonna have to be all the way back here.
Oh, we can hear you fine. Stay right there. You just fine.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't you tell us who you are and what you do? And I need to go refill my coffee. I've been talking for about 35 minutes. So you tell, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Transporter.
Oh Lord, here you go with that crap again. Good morning, everyone. My name is Levon. I am the host of Real Radio. That stands for Radio Established to Address Life. But I'm also Donnie's partner out here in these streets as far as the Joe Mads Black Wall Street Awards are concerned. He refers to me as the transporter because I'm the one usually doing all the daggone driving. However, I am the co-host whenever we're in whatever city we wound up being in, doing, again, these Black Wall Street presentations, which are very, very important, not only to the people that we honor, but the community in general. You know, you have folks out here grinding day in, day out, making a way for not only for their families, but for other families as well. One of the things that we focus on during our presentation is the fact that it tends to be folks like us that employ folks like us and give folks like us a second opportunity when it's necessary to, or I'm sorry, not when necessary, but when able to. So I did a Black Wall Street presentation in Las Vegas about a month ago. And one of the things that struck a chord as I was doing the presentation, the owner of the establishment that we were at, actually, that was their focus as well. Their focus was on helping folks who return to society from incarceration to give them another opportunity. Now, sadly, what they were finding as a whole, as a lot of business owners are struggling with, is finding candidates. You know, people are sitting out right now for various reasons. Obviously, it's income tax time, so that money is flowing. In addition to that, some folks are sitting out because they're just frankly making more money receiving unemployment benefits than they were when they were working. And, you know, that's tough for a small business owner to meet those compensation needs and still make their bottom line work for them. But for larger companies, I say shame on you. Shame on you because you should be paying folks right no matter what. You know, you're focused more on your shareholders and your earnings per share versus your employees and their health, because those are the folks that are going to help you make money not only in the short but also in the long. So shame on you. So as I hear folks struggling, I see sign-on bonuses for fast food restaurants going on right now. Never saw anything like that in my 46 years of living. But these are the situations in which employees find themselves right now. And again, that's their daggone fault. I don't believe that most folks are sitting out because they want to sit out. A lot of folks are sitting out because they need a daggone breather. Let's be honest. Employment in the United States of America is very, very stressful and very rough. You know, you work a year someplace and then you get your first weeks of vacation, or you may need to work 3-5 years before you get a second week of vacation, and you know another 3-4 years after that before you get your third week of vacation, and you may max out after 15 to 20 years. Again, max out at 4 weeks of vacation, 6 maybe. You know, so you're telling me that I put 20 years into this endeavor, and the most time I can take away from it is 6 years. Okay, how does that? I'm sorry, 6 weeks. How does that work? But that is the situation that we find ourselves here in America. So I think a lot of folks are sitting home because of that. I think folks are sitting home because they're finding ways or they're developing ways to make money for themselves. There's nothing more rewarding than making money for yourself. There's nothing more rewarding than taking that risk on yourself and then having it pay off to where you see not only income that helps you pay your bills that are right in front of you, but then you also have residuals that you can put aside for your family and leave a legacy. I have a good friend that is his whole mantra: leaving legacy building, leaving a legacy. And I think that's what a lot of us miss out on because we don't focus as much as our parents or our grandparents on insurance and the like. You have to have those conversations now about your demise, because we're all going to leave this earth. So talk to your children, have a plan in place, have not only a will, but um, start a trust. You know, lay things out proper so no one's fighting later, because folks get to fighting when folks die. I don't know what it is about death, life and death. Folks get real ignorant and arrogant when folks pass away from this life about who get what, and who was loved the most, and who cared for me more, and so on and so forth.
And as a son of an undertaker, I can co-sign that. Boy, you ain't seen no fight till you seen a fight at a funeral.
Man,
and the thing is, when a person was sick, some of these people didn't even go by and see him. But now they fighting over Big Mama's coat, Big Mama's pictures, fighting over pictures, falling out over this stuff.
Yeah.
And no, mama didn't even like you.
Not at all. Didn't want you in the house. Steal the china.
Not her favorite.
Didn't want you in the house because she thought you was going to steal the china. Didn't leave you alone because she thought you was going to steal the forks and the knives, because that's that good silver. So she didn't want you walking away on it and pawning it. But this is how it is. But I'm in Dallas right now. I'm on my way to Tulsa later on today. I have 2 plaques with me for the Joe Mann's Black Wall Street. I'm going to present them to Pastor Pete of the Crosswinds Bible Church, and then the sister that runs the Boys and Girls Club in Northeast Tulsa. So those are the plaques that I brought with me to present out here, because it could not be the 100th commemoration of the attack and murder of Black folks here in Tulsa without us doing our part to show love back this way. So we're going to do our bit here as well, just like we did our bit in Vegas. And Detroit is next.
I'm going to Detroit. I got some people I want to see in Detroit.
We got a couple of things popping up. Yeah, we got a couple of things popping off in Detroit here recently, and it's the perfect time to do it. So Detroit will be next.
What was the first Black Wall Street you attended?
Harlem. Yeah, you went home for me. So I hopped on the bus and rode up to Harlem, and it was at the Red Rooster when it was still Black owned. It's not Black owned anymore, folks. Just so you know, it was at the Red Rooster, and it was awesome. It was an awesome event. I was hooked. I've been hooked ever since, and been following you around, holding up your coattails ever since that day.
Wonderful. Why is it important to you?
As I said a few minutes ago, I think that the recognition that most folks don't get, that are out here doing great work, uplifting the community day in and day out, is worth our time to bring forward and to shine light on. So that's why it's important to me, to that the average, if you want, or the normal Joe or Jane, to show them that their efforts are very much appreciated, very much needed, and to give them that lift, that affirmation that you are not forgotten about. We do appreciate you. We do see you, and thank you. We love you. Thank you. We love you. I think giving people their flowers now is very much important.
We've done some in Southeast DC.
Yes, sir.
What'd you think of the crew, including Beverly down in Southeast DC?
Well, as long as we're showing love, it's all love.
We were at the Petey Green Center.
We went to the Petey Green Center, yeah. And actually, my man that came through from Detroit at that one has done some major things in Detroit. So that's why I said the timing is right now for Detroit. So Detroit is definitely next. Detroit is definitely next. Yes, sir.
Do you happen to have the plaques with you?
Yes, I have them. Yep.
You want to hold them up?
I need to step off camera for a second to do that.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. So that's Lee Vaughn, ladies and gentlemen. Lee Vaughn is what is his title? He's chair of the board. We're forming the I Am Black Wall Street Foundation. We actually had another name, but that kind of didn't work out. So we're nonetheless going to form a foundation, and the purpose is so that we can keep celebrating our entrepreneurs. We celebrate Black entrepreneurs and professionals, as well as the people who support them, regardless of race. So my man is back now, Lee Vaughn. Okay, Lee.
Okay, so Pastor Philip Adobe, again from the Crossroad Bible Church North in Tulsa. That's our first awardee. And our second awardee is Latrice Folks from the North Maybe Boys and Girls Club. So she's going to be our second awardee.
Bring it closer. North Maybe Boys and Girls Club. Is maybe like an Indian name?
I believe so. I'm gonna get some more history when I get to talk to her today.
Because you know Oklahoma, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oklahoma was formerly Indian territory. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. And so we got to put a plug in for Joe Mans.
Yes, absolutely. They are awesome as always. I called them midweek because my sister got information to me late, but I don't want to put her on blast too much. But yeah, she got some information to me late, so I called Josh and I was like, "Bro, I got to do a Donnie Glover on you." He said, "Oh, last minute." I said, "Yeah, but I only need 2." So they bind them out for me. So yeah, we could not do this without Joe Mans trophy and awards center. So
right there, right there in Gwen Oak in Woodlawn.
Yep.
You know,
I appreciate those brothers, their hard work and their professionalism, without a doubt.
And we name the awards after them because they are so good to us.
Yes,
we wouldn't be able to do these awards without a partner like Joe Mans. I mean, teamwork is everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm rocking the Black Wall Street T-shirt today. You know, it's a front and back type situation. You know, got the BeMoreNews.com on the back, all that. So, repping Donnie Glover, even though Donnie Glover isn't out with me today, it's okay. I keep you lifted, bro. Always say your name.
Well, we're proud of you. Tell them about Real Radio. How long have you been doing that broadcast on Saturdays?
9 years. So I've been started in 2012. It's a live broadcast from 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have a great crew with me. I have Sister Rashi Edmonds with me, and my man Rodney Smith with me. We have a political tilt, but we talk about anything and everything. I had an awesome guest on 2 weeks ago. Brother was major. He's actually a retired pastor out of Kansas City, Missouri. But this brother got out of the military back in the Vietnam era and decided to go on a robbing spree. Him and one of his boys they had a plan to actually rob the governmental payroll, but then they chose to not do that because 2 black guys with pistols they didn't think were going to survive too long. So they went on a robbing spree from Colorado to New York, got caught in New York, got incarcerated in Virginia, got out, did it again, got incarcerated this time in Kansas, and came out, gave his life to the church, and been on the straight and narrow ever since. But I mean, he had a powerful testimony, bro. Powerful testimony. And
why did he rob the bank?
Just something they wanted to do. Honestly.
Because that's where the money is.
Right? Yeah, it's something they wanted to do. So they were trying to get that money. So that's but I mean, it was not just banks. They were doing banks, they were doing liquor stores. He said any place that we knew had cash, we were hitting them up. Laundromats, we just went on a total robbing spree. So it was powerful testimony.
So, Levon, out there in Texas, I shared in the earlier part of the broadcast how Texas had, Oklahoma was intended to be the first black state. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Legislation was introduced around 1866. A gentleman from Ohio, it's in the book, though. The book will be out in a few days. Oklahoma had anywhere from 50 to 70 black towns. But Texas had as many as 550 black towns,
I can believe that.
particularly in East Texas.
I can really believe that. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is not in the history books.
Mm.
Nobody's talking about this. No, it's not common knowledge.
Mm.
Black people established towns all across the country because we found solace in living amongst each other.
Right. Right.
Texas has the oldest black chamber in the country. Dallas, Texas has the oldest black chamber in the United States. Folks, you got to have a chamber of commerce. This is where your businesses are supported and celebrated. You got to have a black. We got one in Baltimore, Baltimore City Black Chamber. Deborah Keller is heavily involved. Deborah Keller Green. We must know about our chambers. The chamber up in Boston, a group of people in Boston, the Boston Economic Commission, something like that. They just sued the city of Boston for $1 million because Boston had not been providing contracts to black businesses. Now, we live in a majority black city, and it's the same thing. We got to sue the city of Baltimore for not doing right by black people.
I agree with that.
Only way people understand is to hit them in the pocket. You know, they say they want to be mayor, they say they want to be governor, but if you don't have a plan for black business, son, just pack up your stuff and go home and sit down. Because the last thing we need is another, what do you call people that stand up for the white man? Oh, the white man is right. What do you call them? Black white supremacists? Did you know that there are black white supremacists?
Absolutely.
Robert DeShields talks about them all the time. You got black people out there defending racism.
Yeah. 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 Defending the Confederacy is defending racism. And black folks out here talking about it's my heritage. Okay. Whatever.
It's like a black person supporting the Confederate flag.
Right. Absolutely.
They need to be taken out back. Yeah.
Flogged, legged, and cornered.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen.
So what does today mean to you? Why did you go to Texas with the plans of being in Tulsa today? And it's now, mind you, it was May 31st to June 1st, 1921, 100 years ago today. Why are you there?
Again, doing this work, being a part of this work, being very proud of the work that we've done. I could not allow this day, this time to go by without us having a presence, first off. Secondly, I'm a huge historian, and I'm all about our people, without a doubt. So to show to show my allegiance to their continual efforts is very important.
Solidarity.
Yeah, solidarity. Thank you. To show my allegiance to their efforts is very important to me. But also, you know, we could not be who we want to be if we were not in this space at this time. So again, even though we couldn't make it, we are still here because one of us is here, and that's the important part. You know, it's being about the business, not only in words but also in actions and deeds. So we had to be here.
What do you think? Well, let me back up. Can we have a moment of silence for the 10,000 people that were displaced in Tulsa, Oklahoma 100 years ago today, the 300 plus who were killed, and the hundreds of businesses that were destroyed? A moment of silence. Ashe and amen. 100 years ago. What do you think those people were thinking 100 years ago to wake up and your house is on fire?
More than likely, it was disbelief, because I believe that a lot of them relished in the fact that they lived in relative peace for so long. So, it was disbelief that this was happening, and then it was, oh snap, we need to fight back, which they did. They did fight back. This wasn't a situation where they just tucked their heads between their legs and ran. They stood up and they fought back as long as and as best they could. But when the United States military is called in and they drop a bomb on you, that's kind of hard to fight a bomb with rifles and pitchforks, rifles, pistols, and pitchforks. So let's be honest about that situation as well. There have been 2 times in this nation's history in which it purposely dropped a bomb on its citizens. And both times, those citizens were Black. Tulsa and Philadelphia. Only 2 times when purposely the United States government dropped bombs on its own citizens.
One of the things I talk about in the book is how important our veterans are. Our veterans, this is Memorial Day. What's not known, and I talk about it in the book, I could do a whole book on Black military, but
Black started Memorial
Day. No question. I think of Cathay Williams. She was the first woman in the military. Cathay, Cathay Williams, but she registered as a man, William Cathay. First woman that we know of, first Black woman, first woman in the military. So yeah, Cathay Williams. Then you got Maggie Walker, the first woman of any race to start a bank. See, Black people all in the midst of this history of this country, in the building and the formation of this country. A Black man founded Chicago.
Yep.
Establishing Black towns is not new to us. And that's what, I'm banging in this book. We got it here. Despite the movies, despite what they put on television, despite Fox News, we are brilliant, gorgeous, talented, very gifted people. I mean, to create a Black town in the middle of the West, the Midwest, the West, we didn't even get your Bass Reeves, the Lone Ranger. He lived in Oklahoma for a period of time. Oklahoma was like the go-to spot.
Yeah. But we're talking about towns that had their own everything, had their own electricity, had their own transportation system. I mean, towns that were truly self-sufficient. We did that.
Boley had their own electric company, Boley. So when you go out there, this is the one thing I want you to find out for me, is do the people in Tulsa do the people in Greenwood, and a lot of Black people left there, right? Obviously so. But I want to know how well Boley is discussed. Because the first thing I learned in my research on Oklahoma, you can talk about Black Wall Street and Greenwood all you want, but if you don't acknowledge Boley, Langston, Lincoln City, then you only scratch the surface. Boley is where the Pretty Boy Floyd gang got a checkup from the neck up. Pretty Boy Floyd's gang went to Boley, Oklahoma, and tried to take them Black people's money and got jammed. Pretty Boy Floyd never want to go back to Boley ever again. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Them people, they better say something about Boley. Then Langston, where E.P. McCabe was, they built the HBCU out there, Langston University.
Yeah.
E.P. McCabe, he was what you call a booster. He was the one, everybody needed to go to Oklahoma, but somewhere along the line, he got misunderstood. Chief John Horse got misunderstood. And one lesson that I got from that is that sometimes a leader is going to make an unpopular decision. We as Black people got to be slow to write off our people to throw us under the bus. But we have to, pull these people, these leaders to the side, those who are willing to listen. See, some people were just born slaves. White supremacy is deeply in their DNA. They don't know how to be free. Harriet Tubman said, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves.
If they only knew.
Want to be a slave. You're like, son, you can be free. You can have your own town. You can have your own business. No.
Master good to me.
You got to take him out back. You got to take him out back and reacclimate him to reality. He just need to be brought around, pimp slapped a little bit. Because somewhere along the line, he got to believing that he was nobody.
Right.
See, when you know who you are, when you know who your ancestors are, you know you stand on the shoulders of giants. One thing I write about in this book is how blacks fought against slavery all across the Western Hemisphere. Mexico, Venezuela, Panama, Brazil. Wherever there was slavery, there was some black person trying to take the white slaver's head off. That I assure you in that book right there. Toussaint Louverture in Haiti was bout it. Ask Napoleon. Go wake him up out of sleep and ask him about Toussaint Louverture. See, we have all of this greatness, but we've been fed a steady diet of slavery and slave mentality notions, such that we have black people being white supremacists today. Okay, I think we've gone on for enough. It's 11:04. Any final thoughts, Mr. Lee Vaughn? Executive, what are you chairman of the board?
First off,
of the I Am Black Wall Street Foundation.
Thank you for allowing me to come on. Secondly, I want to thank all of our benefactors, Joe Mans, Donnie Glover, and the others that have supported us along the way for allowing days like this to happen, because we cannot do it by ourselves. It truly takes a village. And I want to thank all of those who, this particular trip, have guided the way and helped me along specifically. So I thank you all. I wish you all a peaceful day, a blessed Memorial Day. As a veteran, I'm very sensitive to this day because there have been folks that I have served with that have given their all, and it's usually a somber day, but it's a day of celebration today.
Well, they say all gave some gave all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We've got to acknowledge now you were United States Air Force, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if I'm not mistaken, one of the first generals in the Air Force, black generals, was Chappie James.
Chappie. Yep.
So when you went into the Air Force, somewhere along the line, you learned about that black general, Air Force general.
It was about a slither. Absolutely. But I didn't let that deter me. I learned more on my own.
Yeah, we have a video.
They talk about Chappie.
Huh?
They talk about LeMay more than they talk about Chappie.
LeMay, I presume, is not a black general?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, why is it important that we know about Chappie? My daddy taught me about Chappie.
He was the first, and it was a bad brother. He was a pilot from everything that I learned about him. And I was fortunate enough to be in line to go in early enough, because I went in the early 90s. So there was still some people around that had the pleasure of serving with him that I ran across.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Benjamin Davis was also a general, right?
But that was the Army Air Force.
That was the Army.
Okay. Yeah, Benjamin O.C. Davis. He was the Army. Yep.
One of them had a son, too, that was a general.
Correct. O.C. General Davis. The other General Davis, yep. Yep.
It was two of them.
Two of them, yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I get a little blurred right there. It's two black generals.
Yes, and both of them were Davis, yes, sir. O.C. was the dad, and then I forget the son's name. think it was the same. I think it was the second.
Senior and junior.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have to know about and I gotta say this. There wouldn't be a Black Wall Street if it weren't for soldiers, veterans.
Pitching them pennies in.
Well, go ahead.
But also masons and artisans. I mean, folks that were able to make money for their labor. They were smart enough, wise enough to invest that money within the community and within.
Well, I can't let you off just yet. Listen, when you think of the veterans, let's go to the Revolutionary War. Slavery is the law of the land. You have blacks that fought in the Revolutionary War. Everybody knows about Crispus Attucks, but there were black patriots all over, and the United States was much smaller than it was just the East Coast. But you had black patriots. You had free black patriots. One of them was named Agrippa Hall. Agrippa, Agrippa Hall, Hull, Agrippa Hall. A very important one was James Forten, Forten. He was a sailmaker in Philadelphia. Filthy rich too, patriot. He was such a patriot that when blacks were talking about immigration to Liberia, he would not support it. He was against slavery, but he was about doing it right here. Now his son was willing to go to Africa, but he said he ain't going nowhere. This is his land. And I want those Confederate people to still holding the Confederate flag that they lost, who are fighting for the right to own another human being. I want them to know about James Forten, a patriot, a real patriot. Because you're not a patriot going over to the Capitol, climbing the wall and trying to sit up in Nancy Pelosi's chair. That's not a patriot. That's a coon booger where I come from. A sucker duck. And then you sucker punch the security. Big ups to our blacks in the military, male and female. And forgive me for not knowing the names, but we got a video. I sent it to you, and I just shared it on Facebook of these black women. Black women at West Point. A black woman admiral that comes to mind. The first black woman admiral. She's pretty too. We told you about Cathay Williams. World War, I guess it was World War II. No, World War I. The mail crew, the ones that delivered the mail. Was that World War I?
The sisters.
That was World War I, right?
No, I think that's two. I think that's the 38th, 33rd. I believe that was their designation. Yep.
But there's a couple of famous pictures with the black lady. I guess she's a sergeant, a captain. Forgive my ignorance, but she's walking by the women troops and they're standing at attention, and it's not something we see enough. And so, Levon, we have so much history that we need to know and pass on to our children.
Yeah.
We can't wait on the school system to do it. They're not capable. They're not qualified. They went to school to learn how to do something, but it wasn't to teach our children how powerful they are.
The Daughters of the Confederacy had a whole lot to do with that, though. They've still been wielding their power in their hand in the education system.
You lost. You lost. You lost.
You're right.
Nobody cares what you think, lady.
But look. I don't want to get too far off the subject, and I have to check out.
All them damn statues down. Tear them down. Kathy Pugh, she tore that damn statue down. But she's tore it down faster than a Baltimore speed camera.
I don't want to go too far off, but you talk about those who lost. Look at Congress right now in the filibuster. You got 38 senators saying no to something that 50-something say yes to, and they were able to stop it. It's a similar situation. The power in America doesn't have to be the majority. It could very well be the minority. And that's just how it goes. The way our system is set up.
The good white people in this country are going to have to step up. If you don't punish Donald Trump for his behavior, then you deserve whatever you get.
Yes,
he's a traitor.
Yes,
He's colluded with the Russians to destroy our government.
Yep.
And he's brainwashed a bunch of sickos into thinking they've actually lost something. What did you lose? See, losing is when you built something from the ground up and you actually lost it. But when somebody else built it for you,
but did he really brainwash them, or did he give them a rallying cry? Because they've been feeling forever that they're at a loss. You know, like you said, you know, folks want to claim something that's not theirs at all. You know, they want, because they've been so privileged for so long. Now, you know, they're losing America. America was never yours in the beginning. Fool, you stole it from the jump. Now it's going back to those who were native or indigenous to it, and now you have issues. Why? Yeah.
Bob DeShields says it on his show all of the time. You stole it. It's stolen until it's returned.
Right.
We were stolen as a people. Our land was stolen. So you stole our bodies, our land, our resources. You got to pay for that. That's what Bob DeShields says, Attorney Bob DeShields. You have to pay for that because you are a thief. First of all, you're a thief. You stole people. You're a trafficker. There's nothing great about George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, any of these people that supported slavery. You are a human trafficker. That's the cruddies of the cruddies down there with the pedophiles. You have no rights. Matter of fact, don't let me be president, because I'm going to have the black moment Barack Obama we wished he would have had. It's going to get real black for a minute.
I got to go.
Me too. You've been watching another edition of the Be More News Mornings. Black USA Mornings. I'm sorry. You were saying something?
I said, love you, brother.
Love you too. Thank you for joining us today. Up to date, down tomorrow. Do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. And we hope that you learned something today. We pay homage to the destruction, to the ancestors and the survivors of the destruction of Tulsa that took place 100 years ago today. For Levon, my name's Donnie Glover. We'll catch you later this evening, live from Oklahoma. Thank you.
Peace.